welcome to Chit Chat and Tea with Amanda Marie. You can see me, right?
Yes, we can see Mom.
I'm here with two of my kids. You all know Aurora. She's in a lot of my videos, but this is one that you guys haven't met. This is Xavier. He's my second oldest, and he's one of the only ones that's willing to do this with me, right, Xavier?
Yep.
Nobody else will do it. He's a good sport. So, well, you're a streamer yourself.
I do. I stream on Twitch.
So he started doing this stuff before me, so...
2 years ago, I cast professional gaming events.
Yeah, put your info out there, Xavier.
It's going to be twitch.tv/alpha_young13. I stream League of Legends and solo content.
Yep, so he's a streamer, so he's comfortable in front of the camera. So, welcome back to Chit Chat and Tea. Like I said, today we're doing a recipe video with my son Xavier. He loves to bake. He is a baker. And so this one's about Happy Hanukkah, right, Xav?
Absolutely.
Happy Hanukkah. So Xav's gonna light the first Hanukkah candle on our menorah for us to start us off. And you can do that. And we're gonna, we'll talk about the recipe we're gonna make for you guys today, show you guys how to do. Being today is, when you guys watch this video, it will be the first day of Hanukkah, so that evening, right? When the sun goes down?
Yep, starting tonight when the sun goes down, it's the first day of Hanukkah.
Right, so why don't we just quickly talk about Hanukkah for a second before we get into the recipe?
Absolutely. So Hanukkah, for all of you who don't know, is the festival of lights. It started when the Maccabees, they were defending the temple, and they were under attack, and they had only 1 day's worth of oil in their lamp, and they were very worried. They were very scared that if they ran out of oil, they wouldn't have light. They wouldn't be able to protect themselves. So what happened was they prayed to God, and they were very, very, thankful because they were able to stretch out 1 day's worth of oil over 8 whole days until they were able to get more oil to renew the lamp. So it kind of shows that through prayer and endurance, we can always expect God to help us even through the most trivial and overcoming challenges.
Yes, and it was the miracle that God kept that oil for them.
Burning on the lamp.
Right, so now, a lot of people might think, why are you guys even, observing Hanukkah or talking about Hanukkah? I thought you were a Christian, Amanda. What are you doing? So, the way I see it, guys, is I've always kind of taught my kids that, a lot of stuff in the Bible, like, for example, Jesus actually, he observed Hanukkah, right, Xav?
Absolutely, yeah, he did visit Jerusalem during the festival.
It's in John 10. You guys can, if you're interested or whatever, you can go look in the Bible. John 10, it talks about him going to Jerusalem for Hanukkah. So, it's something that, I just decided, years ago when my kids were younger, well, I still have a 3-year-old, when he was younger, to start kind of talking about this stuff with the kids, the different festivals that are talked about in the Bible, that like the Lord's festivals, there's the Feast of the Tabernacles, Feast of the Trumpets, Passover. We always do Passover. So for me as a believer, I do that we do that as a family. We talk about these feasts and we acknowledge them. I think it's just something, when you dive deeper into God's Word, you discover these things, and I think it kind of deepens your faith, and it gives you a deeper understanding of the Word of God and a lot of different things. So we enjoy it. We really love doing it. Xavier, out of all my kids, he's the one that really, really appreciates and loves a lot of the Jewish traditions and the richness of the Jewishness of being a believer, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is that light bothering you, honey? You want to come over here instead? Yeah, okay, that would be better. Here, I'm just going to move this.
I'll move the flower right
Here, move this over here. Here, bro, come over here. Yeah, we've got the light in the background is bothering her. That's okay, honey. So yeah, so we just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit before we get into the recipe, because the recipe is, now you make this all the time.
Yep.
We don't just do this for Hanukkah.
No, it's a really nice bread. If you're looking for a good dinner loaf, it's a sweet bread. It has a lot of egg in it, and it makes a lot. You know, it does. You let it rise about twice, 2 or 3 times, and it's a really good bread because you can pull chunks off. You can share it. And I remember the first time we had it was when we went to that church and we had Shabbat.
Right.
So it kind of introduced me to it. And they started putting salt on the bread. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where I kind of really liked it. I thought it was very tasteful bread. So I make it all the time. Right. And it's a traditional like Shabbat or Sabbath day bread that Jewish people usually make on the Sabbath. It's called Challah Bread. Yep.
And we love it. We've been making it for years, and it's a pretty bread. Like he said, it's an egg.
Yeah, it's an egg bread.
But yeah, honey, don't play with that. So yeah, so that's the bread we're going to share with you guys today. Xavier's special challah bread recipe. He makes this all the time for his friends. He makes it for us. So this is his recipe. Aurora, don't touch, okay, honey? So he's going to share it. So let me move this, Xav. We'll get this out of the way. And you can get into talking about your ingredients for this recipe. So
obviously the base of any bread is going to be flour, and we actually have 4 cups of flour right here. So what we're gonna do is have a basic sifter, kitchen match sifter, and we're just gonna go ahead, sift that out, make sure that's nice and fine. And it's going to help so that the bread's going to rise a little bit easier. It's going to be not as thick as always.
So you've got how many cups? I'm sorry, Zay. 4 cups.
4 cups of flour.
4 cups of flour, regular all-purpose flour, right?
Yep, and you just kind of bounce it around for a bit, let it go through a sifter. Obviously, you have the special little hand sifters that people use all the time. Okay. And the big thing about this bread is you're going to make what's called a shaggy dough. And that mainly incorporates just putting the flour and the sugar together, and then putting the eggs in, which is going to be 2 eggs and an egg yolk. And that's kind of going to make a shaggy dough, which is going to be a bunch of small balls kind of all clumped together.
Oh, is that what it is? I've never heard. That's what's called a shaggy dough?
Yeah, that's the official name for what that kind of mixture is called.
Oh, all right.
So we're going to go ahead, we're going to put the sugar in. We're going to kind of go ahead and just, give this a mix so it can all incorporate together a little bit. And what I always do is you grab a cup, you can use your fist, whatever it is, and you kind of punch a little well in the dough right there. I'll try to show that for you.
Yeah, just show it.
So, oh no, it's not gonna work.
You can't because, you know what, I can bring it over and show it, Zay.
Absolutely. So you just punch a little well in there for the eggs to sit.
So this is what he meant. He made it so that you guys can see that. So there's like a little hole in the middle of the flour in the center part, okay?
You just put a small divot. Yeah. And the point of that is that we're going to grab our eggs. As I said, we're actually using duck eggs today because we have some ducks. And they actually help with, they're really thick, so they actually bind the bread together really well. And I find I like them a lot better for baking than traditional eggs. Yeah, they say duck eggs are a lot better for baking. They're more creamy and rich, right? Yeah, they're a lot creamier, they're a lot richer. We're gonna just give you a better binding agent. And our duck is laying a lot of eggs right now. So we have 1 hen right now. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of our hens over the summer, but and we have a hen, Belina, but she's not laying right now. But our duck, her name's Belle, she is laying a lot of eggs. So all we're going to do is we have the egg in here, and we're just kind of mix it together with a basic spoon. And it's going to go through, and we're just going to try to incorporate that and break up that egg as much as possible, kind of clumping up that flour together. Okay. A good bit. And as it comes together, you can see it does clump really easily, especially because we sifted it really well. Well, you can see on the out right there, you might be able to, it's a lot less loose, a lot more held together. It's a lot more kind of like small balls, about pea size. For you there. And then what we're going to do is now that's all set, you can go ahead and incorporate all your other ingredients. So find the salt.
I think I might be right there.
Okay. So as you said, that's just gonna be 4 cups of flour, a 1/4 cup of sugar. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna incorporate that in real quick. And then, if you have a KitchenAid attachment, you can absolutely use a dough hook attachment. We're gonna try to do it with a spoon. It's just gonna take a little bit longer. But the most important part is you want to make sure you have this is a leavened bread, which means it has yeast. So we have 1 cup of flour with 1 tablespoon of yeast in here. You always throw in a little bit of sugar to help it rise so that it does metabolize and the yeast is able to rise. And you have a nice thick layer of foam on top. And that's just to show how much carbon is being produced. And then we also have a 1/4 cup of oil in here. Any neutral oil works. I always go for vegetable oil because it's just a lot easier to use. But any neutral oil is going to be pretty fantastic for that. So we're going to incorporate the yeast mixture with the oil.
Well, why didn't you tell us what the yeast mixture is?
I did. It's
I'm sorry. I was distracted.
1 cup of water with 1 tablespoon of yeast.
And it's warm water, Xavier,
yep,
right?
You want to do lukewarm water.
Because you want the yeast to wake up and come alive.
Yeah, it's a microorganism. So
right.
all that means is that the yeast does have a metabolism. It's going to be eating the sugar you're putting in. It's going to be reducing carbon. That's why you're going to have, the bread's going to rise. It's going to have a crumb. It's going to become a little thicker. So all we're going to do is we're just going to grab our spoon, or if you have a dough hook attachment, you can kind of just throw a dough hook in here. We're trying to incorporate all of this, this sticky, tacky dough with this dry flour crumb mixture that we have here.
Right.
It just takes a minute, so kind of just go through. You're pushing it down, and you can see it forms a ball pretty quickly there for you. As soon as this is all set, we can go ahead and throw it out on a nice little cutting board. And we're going to go ahead and knead that out, try to get it to stick together in a ball a little bit more. And don't be afraid to use your hands too. Obviously if you want to set your hands in some flour first, that always helps to make sure that they don't get as covered in dough and you aren't wearing dough gloves for a hot second there. So can I get the cup, please?
Oh, sorry.
You're all good.
Took the cup away. I've got Miss Fussy Pants over here I'm dealing with. She wanted to be in the video with us, but...
So we're just going to set this. We have a cutting board right here that we'll pull out.
Oh, you want
We're just going to set that right there, and we are going to get that. And we are going to cover our hands with a little bit of flour so our hands don't stick to the dough nearly as much. We're going to kind of just try to mix that together, incorporate it before we pull it out of the bowl. I'm going to throw a little more in there.
So you kind of just...
You're looking for a smooth consistency.
Right,
so
you
you're
might have
feel
to add
bumps.
a little more flour.
Yeah, you might need to add a little more flour, maybe a little more oil. It all depends on, obviously, baking it's a very exact science.
Right.
But there's a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to the flour, oil, water mixture. It's all about what you're going for. You can definitely, don't worry about over flouring it. You can always add more water, oil to it. And, the main things you want to get right are the salt and the sugar components and the yeast.
And doesn't it, a lot of it depend too, the climate? So if it's, really hot and humid, or, we're in the cold weather here, you know what I mean? Doesn't that kind of...
Yeah, but it's going to change how it rises.
The consistency and
yeah,
stuff?
and it's going to make it a lot tackier the hotter it is. The drier it is, you're going to be able to be more comfortable with your dough.
Yeah.
So you see we have a little ball here. It is a little bumpy. It's still rough. So we do need to just go through and knead this is the big thing here. So we have a nice bed of flour for us. We're just going to cake it on both sides and just continuously fold it into itself and compress the dough. Trying to expose all the tacky bits of the dough, tearing it up before the yeast has a chance to kind of work through so we aren't wasting that CO2.
And this is the part you love, right, Z?
Well, I mean, this is relaxing. I know I picked up baking a lot when I had a wrist injury, and I worked at a pizza place, actually, and I kind of I tossed a lot of pizza dough, and it was very good for my wrist, actually. It was a good orthopedic exercise. So, I mean, if you have, arthritis and you need something to, kind of, help you work through, you want to feel like you're doing something that is working your hands, I definitely recommend baking. I mean...
Plus, you find it relaxing and therapeutic in that way.
Yeah, it's a very easy, baking's very easy, and there's a lot of small things you can do to change how something comes out. which is just remarkable. Honestly, it's a very relaxing experience.
Yeah. Xavier's dream is to
Own a bakery.
one day own his own bakery.
Yeah.
He wants to be a wrestling baker, right, Xavier?
Oh, absolutely. I coach wrestling, and I would love to be able to be a little wrestling baker.
That would be awesome.
And as you can see, it is slowly becoming a smoother dough. It is a little tacky, a little bumpy, so we're just going to keep adding some flour. Take some time. You want to get a nice taut ball. Is pretty much the consistency you're looking for. We're going to oil the bowl and let it rise. So that's obviously going to give you a lot of creative room and a lot of room for mistake. Because that is going to smooth out the dough itself as it rises.
So, Xavier, how long would you say this would take to like, if you wanted to make a challah bread, how long altogether would this bread take to make?
So to do it correctly, because I've obviously rushed it a few times. I made one for my coworker recently, and I rushed it in the morning. I did it in about 2 hours.
Yeah, that is a rush. Huh?
But you're looking at 3 to 4 hours, because you want to let it rise 2 or 3 times.
Right.
So, and it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to rise, is what it is. And a nice warm spot, so maybe like under a light on your oven is what I typically do, and that helps a lot.
Okay.
So it really is just kind of the longer you let it rise, the more flavor it's going to develop is the big thing.
Mhm.
So that's mainly what you're looking at there. You want to just kind of let it rise, let it develop that nice yeast flavor going throughout the bread, and it's going to have some thicker layers in it. The more you knead it, the more you punch it down.
Plus, this is a very pretty bread too because you braid it.
Yeah, you braid it and you can coat it. This is like, the exciting parts about baking is you can coat it when you bake it. So I put oil. We usually put egg whites on it because you do use an egg yolk, so you have the extra egg whites laying around. But I put oil on it before, which I really liked, and give it a nice hard exterior crust. And it's really whatever you're looking for. I mean, it's a really creative bread. A lot of people, they'll drizzle chocolate on it. They'll make some kind of honey drizzle. Walnuts, I've seen it with walnuts a lot. And people really do kind of take their own creative freedom on it and end up making something really nice. So as we're coming together, we're just going to try to pull it towards the center here. Just like if you ever made pizza before, when you're making a ball of pizza dough. And you want to kind of get it all set there. And we're going to give it one more coating
I'll get rid of it.
before we let it rise.
Yeah, this is just, there's all different kinds of challah breads. You can put nuts in them, you can put cranberries, you can put raisins, you can put chocolate chips. There's a lot of different things you can put into challah bread. Yeah, of course you would want to put chocolate chips, right?
And I mean, it's definitely, again, baking is all about creative freedom. It's really nice. It's the difference from cooking is it's not as fast paced. You can take your time and you can really just kind of experiment with it. And if it comes out bad, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world because you can just make French toast out of it or something, kind of hide that.
Yeah, actually, challah bread French toast is awesome.
Absolutely, yeah.
It really is good.
So now we have, as you can see, we took all that flour, made a nice smooth ball of dough here. It's coated in a thin layer of flour to keep it nice and protected, so when it rises, the glucose is going to expand with it. And all we're going to do is we're going to wash this pot out. We're going to cover it in some oil, put some saran wrap over it, and then we're essentially just going to go ahead and throw it under our oven light for a bit and let that kind of rise for a good amount. Typically, you're going to want this bread to rise twice. I like to do it 3 times personally, but twice.
3 times?
Oh, because you let it rise, it develops a lot of flavor. If you let it rise twice, you punch it down once.
Okay.
But you're going to let it rise once, and it's going to probably double in size after 45 minutes to half an hour. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to chop it in 3 to 6 braids, and you're going to go ahead and braid it. And that's where you can get really creative. I mean, I've seen 1,000,001 ways people have braided challah bread on Pinterest or whatever. They kind of go to town, they'll make these special braids. I'm not that good at it, so I just do a 3-strand braid and kind of fold it over it itself and try to make it look presentable. I'm going to actually get the oil ready for us.
Okay, here's the bowl. We've got a clean bowl to work with now. He's getting the oil. And I'm just so happy that one of my older kids is willing to like come on my my YouTube channel and share. This is his expertise. So I was trying to think of something that Xavier could come and share with us, and it dawned on me, Hanukkah and Challah Bread, right?
Yeah, I definitely.
This is one of your favorite things to do, so I thought it would be fun to have you do this with us.
Absolutely, I think out of all the kids, I'm the one who I think it's really important to follow all the Jewish traditions, because it is the origin of Christianity.
Yeah,
so.
you're the one that really took to that when we started talking about all that, incorporating that into our own walk with Jesus.
Also, my girlfriend definitely loves my mother's YouTube channel. She thinks it's a cute
Hi,
thing in the
Shayla.
world. So, she definitely pushed me to make sure I do this for you.
Oh,
So
thank
it was
you.
very,
That was
very
sweet of her.
thoughtful of her. So all we're gonna do is
I can't wait to meet you, Shayla.
grab a little bit of olive oil, and we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna coat the inside of that pan, and we're gonna grab. And I always like to throw a little bit at the bottom to coat the bread a tiny bit as well. And we're gonna grab that dough, and you're just gonna kind of let it, form together. The important part about getting it nice and oily and wet is that it's going to hold the dough and bind it together when it rises, so that it's not, it doesn't, it sticks together. It's going to form one ball, and there's no, individual strands, because often when you knead, you get a lot of strands kind of sitting to the side.
Plus, when it rises, you don't want it, because you're going to cover this.
Yes.
You don't want it, it helps from sticking to the bowl and sticking to your
Exactly.
towel or
it's gonna get very
whatever.
tacky. So
Yeah, it helps with that.
what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab a hot towel, or saran wrap works too.
You
and
want
I
me
coat
to
the
just,
top.
I'll just grab some saran
Yeah,
wrap.
get some saran wrap, and we're just going to cover the top of this, and you're going to let it rise for about half an hour here.
Alright, so we're going to cover this. Put it, like he said, put it in a nice warm spot in your house.
We got some, we'll spray on olive oil for it.
Yep.
Just so it doesn't stick to the top, because the worst thing is when it rises
Yeah.
so much, when you end up ruining the bread, and you have to let it rise again, because you ruin all of that for you. So we're just going to do a quick coat right there.
Okay. And that's good to go. Alright guys, so that's our first segment of our Challah Bread for Hanukkah. We're going to let this rise, like he said, for a half an hour to 45 minutes, and we'll be back with that, and we'll show you guys what to do after your first rise. Alright guys, we are back. The bread has risen, right, Xavier?
Absolutely.
Just like Jesus rose from the dead. He's alive.
So the first thing we're going to do is we have a nice big
Here.
chunk of dough.
Move over a little bit. I don't know why it's showing those like that.
What?
These side things.
Does that not usually do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me try. Alright, so Xavier, you're going to show us now. What's the next step after your bread rises?
So, as I mentioned, the biggest part of challah bread that a lot of people love is that you get to braid the bread. As you can see, we have a nice, massive, chunk of dough here that's risen up. You can see it's full of all that CO2. So we're going to do our best here to, try to make it a little brick or a little dough ball. And we're going to cut it in thirds because I'm not talented enough to do 6-strand braids.
You have to work on that, buddy.
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to cut it. It's always a tough guess. I mean, obviously it doesn't have to be perfect. So we're going to grab, a bench scraper here, and you're just going to go through, you're going to chop it, try to get, 3 even chunks if you need to mix them up. Clearly, the first one is a lot smaller than the others from the looks of it right here. So we're just going to grab that, and we're just going to kind of make snakes out of them, right? We're going to try to make big dough strands, these big braid ropes. And it always helps to have some flour on standby.
Yeah, you got your flour. Here, why don't you move over a little bit more so you're in the center of the...
So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to make a nice little bed of flour here to let the, the nice rope of bread kind of take on that so it doesn't stick as well, doesn't stick to itself, doesn't stick to the other bread so we can't expand it out. But we're going to try to stretch it out as much as possible first. because you want to get a nice long strand. Don't work the dough too much, because you want to make sure it does kind of keep that, the leavening agent keeps the CO2 in there. And so you're going to have a nice long dough strand right there for us. We're just going to kind of cake that up. And we're going to set it to a side right there. You get the other piece. Kind of work this one out. Roll it in your hands. Roll it on the table a little bit. Kind of gently press it. Work it through. And you're trying to get them all to the same length. Nothing too crazy. Try to keep them even is a very important part of this process. You don't want to have, you know, big chunks because it's just going to cook a little weird. It's not the end of the world.
I've ended up with some interesting looking challah breads throughout the years.
And you're just trying to make, we're going to fold this one in on itself here, press them together. And this is where you are going to kind of have to, like, you know, force them to kind of fuse, bond together real quick while it is still tacky because it's covered in that oil. Again, you don't want to work it too hard here. Oh, glitter in there from slime
lovely.
probably. And we're just going to go ahead and work it so it's a nice even sized rope with the other ones. Work it from the center out. Kind of just roll it out. It's pretty relaxing, honestly. It's a fun little process.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole attraction to baking is the whole process is a very, and then it's satisfying because you get to partake in the end result, right?
Absolutely. So what we're going to do here actually is now we have these 3 strands all made of challah.
And I'm actually
die Fiedel, dicke Fiedler haben Fiedel, dicke Fiedel, haben Fiedel, dicke Fiedel, haben sie. Und die Fiedel, dicke Fiedler haben Fiedel, dicke Fiedel, haben Fiedel, dicke Fiedel, haben sie. Und als der
Alrighty, so we're gonna have 3 really long strands of bread here, and we actually already have our whole kitchen island all doughed up.
alright, so I'll take this for you.
So I can kind of ruin that and move that out of the way. So we have these 3 massive strands here that we're gonna work with, and the most important thing here is we want to kind of bind them on one end, and we're gonna kind of grab, you know, and braid it as it goes along. So we're just gonna pinch them together, grab them, kind of squish them, you know. Don't worry too much about, you know, ruining the CO2 in it. You kind of want to just like fold it over itself and really have it kind of stick and form a solid end there for the bread. And then all we're going to do to start off here is we're going to grab the loaf and we're going to do a pretty simple braid. It's just going to be going over the middle one over and over again on each end. So we're going to pull that right over, and we're just going to kind of go through the process here of folding it over itself and braiding the bread.
Oh, you're doing good, Dave. See?
As it goes along, you're just going to keep on bringing it over into the middle.
Yeah.
Trying to keep a nice tight braid there if you can. Don't worry too much about pulling the bread.
He was worried it wasn't going to come out pretty. This one's coming out really good.
As you're getting to the end, you want to start thinking about, you know, we're going to set this up, make sure you have enough dough at the end to kind of fuse it together. And we're going to kind of just mash it up here. And we're going to once again kind of pinch it and really try to fuse those ends so we have a solid end piece here. And we're going to have a long kind of log
You know
here
what?
of challah.
This would be pretty if you could do like a circle challah for this one.
A little reef.
Yeah, that's perfect.
You make like a little reef beef. And next thing, all you're gonna do is you're gonna get a nice baking pan with some parchment paper.
Yep.
We're gonna go ahead and set that up. You're going to lay it down on there. You want to put some silicone wrap over top of it or a hot cloth. And you want actually silicone wrap. You want to get some olive oil on that so it doesn't stick to the bread. You're gonna let it rise for another 30 to 45 minutes, and you want to preheat your oven to 375. Throw it in. You want to bake it for about 35 to 40 minutes there, or until it's hardened. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna coat this in olive oil before we throw it in, because I really like a nice harder crust. You can use water. You can use egg whites.
And you can
yolks.
even, you know what? I was thinking to get even more creative, we could put some poppy seeds.
Absolutely, yeah. To give it a nice.
To give it,
pretty
since
appearance.
we're making it like almost like a wreath here, so we'll do that. It's going to be really pretty, really pretty. So we're going to have Xavier's. We're going to get this all set, like he just said. Let this rise for another half an hour to 45 minutes, and we will be showing you guys the finished product when we're done. Okay. All right, guys, I am finishing this up. Xavier is busy, so I'm just doing the last part of this challah bread. Like he mentioned, he wanted to do this one with oil, so we're doing the oil. See how it rose? It's nice and big. Isn't that pretty? So we're putting the oil on it before we get it in the oven. Remember, like he said, you want your oven at 375 to bake this. Uh-oh, I have an upset 3-year-old, and I don't know why. Okay. So you just want to cover it with the oil. All right, I better go check on Miss Aurora, and I'll finish this up. We will be back. All right, guys, so I finished putting the oil, coating it with oil, and I put the poppy seeds on, and it's ready to be popped in the oven, guys. Isn't it pretty? I think I'm so happy that it turned out like this. I think it's so pretty, and it's perfect for the Christmas season too. I mean, it kind of just goes with the whole season we're in. So I'm excited. So anyway, here it is. We're popping it in the oven, 375. I think he said to cook it for about a half hour. I'm going to double check with him on that. And when we have the finished product, we will be showing it to you guys, and I will confirm the time to cook it. So here we go, guys. Okay, guys, this is the finished product. It looks really pretty. I love how it came out. It's really a pretty challah. Isn't it? Okay, Zave.
What? I need to get baking powder and soda. Baking
say
cookies.
Thank you. I mean, say
thank you for what? I'm the one who made the bread.
I want to say thank you to you for doing the video with me,
no
okay?
problem. I'll do the video with you.
All right. So thanks, Zave. Now he's baking something else. He's a baking maniac. Zave, what are you baking now?
Peanut butter cookies.
He's making peanut butter cookies now. He's just a baking fool. All right. Guys, until my next video, and look, I got my other son cleaning.
Tea time.
Tea Okay. Anyway, God bless everybody. Until next time. Bye. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas.